Imagine you wake up tomorrow and your country no longer exists. Not destroyed by a bomb, not swallowed by a flood, just gone, redrawn, renamed, absorbed. The flag you grew up saluting is now illegal to fly. The anthem your grandmother sang is now a relic in a museum. Your passport, the document that told the world who you were, is now worthless paper. Do you fight? Do you flee? Do you simply become someone else? This isn't a hypothetical. This is what happened to millions of real people across history. People who were Prussian on Monday and German by Friday. People who went to bed as Yugoslav citizens and woke up inside a war that was deciding which new country they'd belong to. They didn't choose for their countries to disappear. History chose for them. And the most haunting part? Many of them never recovered. Not because the country was gone, but because they didn't know who they were without it. If you think your identity and your country are separate things, this video is about to challenge everything you believe. Let's start with one of the most powerful nations Europe ever produced, and one of the most completely erased, Prussia. At its peak, Prussia wasn't just a country, it was a concept. Discipline, order, military excellence so terrifying that Napoleon himself studied their tactics before marching against them. Their kings didn't just rule, they defined what European power looked like for over 2 centuries. Did you know that Prussia once controlled nearly a third of modern-day Germany and was the dominant military force in Europe for over 200 years? They had generals who became legends, philosophers who shaped the modern world, a culture so strong that even their enemies borrowed from it. Prussia wasn't just on the map. Prussia was the map in many ways. But by the end of World War II, it was over. The Allied powers dismantled Prussia completely in 1947. The land was carved up between Germany-Poland and what is now a Russian exclave called Kaliningrad. The name was abolished. The identity was buried like a body with no headstone. Today, you can stand on land that was once proudly Prussian and not find a single official sign that it ever existed. That's not just history. That's an erasure. And yet, compared to what happened in South America just a century earlier, Prussia's story almost feels clean. Because someone once tried to build the United States of South America and watched it collapse in less than 15 years. His name was Simon Bolivar, and in 1819, he achieved what most people said was impossible. He united Colombia, Venezuela, Ecuador, and Panama into a single superstate he called Gran Colombia. His dream was a continent-spanning republic that would rival any power on earth. Did you know Bolivar wanted Gran Colombia to eventually absorb Peru and Bolivia too, creating a superpower that would have been larger than the modern United States? But the dream had cracks from the very beginning. Regional leaders wanted power for themselves. The geography was so vast it was nearly impossible to govern. Bolivar's rivals undermined him at every turn, chipping away at the unity he had bled to build. By 1831, Gran Colombia had shattered into 3 separate nations, and Bolivar, the man who had liberated a continent, died just months later, broken and disillusioned. His last recorded words on the matter were devastating. He reportedly said, "America is ungovernable. Those who serve the revolution plow the sea. A man who freed millions, a country that lasted barely a decade, gone." But here's what makes this even more unsettling. Some of these countries didn't disappear in the ancient past. Some vanished within living memory. Some of your parents remember the exact night it happened. On November 9th, 1989, the Berlin Wall fell. And within a year, East Germany ceased to exist. East Germany, officially called the German Democratic Republic, had existed for 40 years. In that time, it built one of the most sophisticated surveillance states in human history. The Stasi secret police had one informant for every 63 citizens. Neighbors reported neighbors. Children reported parents. You could be arrested for a joke told at the wrong dinner table. And yet, millions of East Germans built lives there, had families, celebrated birthdays, cheered for their Olympic athletes, loved their country, complicated and suffocating as it was. Then the wall fell, and overnight, 17 million people had to learn to be someone they had never been before. Their currency was scrapped, their government dissolved, their institutions dismantled, everything that had defined their daily existence gone in the time it takes history to turn a page. That is not liberation for everyone. For some people, that is grief. But if East Germany was an erasure, Yugoslavia was a detonation. Yugoslavia was never just a country. It was 6 republics, 5 nations, 4 languages, 3 religions, and 2 alphabets held together by the sheer force of one man's will, President Tito. And when Tito died in 1980, the clock started ticking. Did you know Yugoslavia's breakup eventually produced 7 internationally recognized nations: Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Serbia, Montenegro, North Macedonia, and Kosovo? By the early 90s, the ticking became a bomb. Wars erupted across the region. Ethnic cleansing, sieges, massacres. The city of Sarajevo, which had hosted the Winter Olympics just 8 years earlier, full of joy and athletic glory and international goodwill, was placed under siege for 1,425 days. The longest siege of a capital city in the history of modern warfare. When it was finally over, Yugoslavia was gone. In its place, 7 new countries, millions of refugees, and a grief so tangled and deep that even today people who survived it struggle to find the words. It wasn't just a country that died, it was an identity, a way of seeing yourself in the world. And once that is gone, some people never find their way back. Then there is Rhodesia. And this one is different because Rhodesia's disappearance wasn't mourned by everyone. For many, it was a long-awaited sunrise. Named after British colonialist Cecil Rhodes, Rhodesia was a white minority-ruled state in southern Africa that declared illegal independence from Britain in 1965 rather than accept black majority rule. For 15 years it held on, against international sanctions, against guerrilla warfare, against the tide of a world that had decided what it stood for was wrong. Did you know Rhodesia was never officially recognized by any country in the world, not even its closest ally South Africa, making it one of the only nations to exist in complete international isolation for over a decade? In 1980, after a negotiated settlement, Rhodesia transitioned to black majority rule and was renamed Zimbabwe. For the millions of black Zimbabweans who had fought and bled and buried their dead for that moment, it was liberation, it was justice, it was survival. For the white Rhodesians who had built their lives inside the old system, it was the end of a world. History rarely gives clean endings. Usually it gives complicated ones where the same moment means completely different things depending on which side of it you were standing on. But not every lost country carries that kind of weight. Some of them are just strange, funny even, and the strangest one might also be the most alive. In 1967, a former British Army major named Paddy Roy Bates sailed out to a rusted World War II naval platform sitting 7 miles off the coast of England in the North Sea, and declared it an independent sovereign nation. He called it the Principality of Sealand. Sealand has its own flag, its own national anthem, its own passports, its own coins, and its own nobility titles, which you can actually purchase on their website today. It has a population of roughly 10 people. It covers an area smaller than a basketball court, and it has somehow survived for over 50 years. There was even a coup attempt in 1978. A coup on a rusted metal platform in the middle of the ocean. A German businessman briefly seized control while the royal family was away. Paddy Bates chartered a helicopter and took it back by force. Sealand is absurd. Sealand is hilarious. But Sealand is also somehow a mirror, because it forces the same question that Prussia and Yugoslavia and Gran Colombia all forced, just from a completely different angle. What does it actually take for a country to be real? Is it the land? Yugoslavia had the land. Is it the people? East Germany had millions of them. Is it the flag? Prussia had one of the most famous flags in the history of Europe. None of it was enough. And then there is the Republic of Minerva, possibly the most audacious nation-building attempt of the entire 20th century, and also the shortest. In 1972, a Nevada real estate millionaire named Michael Oliver dredged sand onto 2 submerged coral reefs in the South Pacific, declared them a new libertarian nation with 0 taxes and 0 government interference, and began accepting citizens. Minerva issued its own currency before the nation was even fully above water. The Kingdom of Tonga, a neighboring Pacific island nation, was not amused. They dispatched a small naval force, planted their flag on the reef, and annexed it within months. Minerva ceased to exist before most people even heard it had begun. But the dream behind it, of building a country from scratch, of choosing your own rules, your own values, your own identity from the ground up, that dream has never died. People keep trying, and failing, and trying again. Maybe that is just what being human is. Here is what strikes me most about every single country we have looked at today. None of them thought they would disappear. Prussia didn't see it coming. Yugoslavia was too proud. Gran Colombia was too ambitious. East Germany was too certain. Even Minerva was too confident. Every single one of them believed, somewhere in their national soul, that they would last. And none of them did. The borders you see on today's map are not permanent. They are agreements, fragile, political, deeply human agreements, drawn in ink that history is always slowly trying to erase, which makes you wonder which countries on today's map won't be here in 50 years. I'm not going to answer that, because I think you already have an answer forming in your head right now, and I want you to sit with it. But before you go, tell me something in the comments. Of every country we talked about today, Prussia, Gran Colombia, East Germany, Yugoslavia, Rhodesia, Sealand, Minerva, which one would you most want to visit if it still existed? And if you think I missed one that deserves its own deep dive, tell me that too. Because there are dozens more where these came from. If this is the kind of history that actually moves you, the kind they don't teach in school, the kind that makes you see the world differently, then subscribe, because this channel goes places most history content is too afraid to go. And if you want to keep going right now, I have another video waiting that asks an even darker question: what happens to a people when their language is banned? Click right there. I will see you in the next one.